Go ahead and jump to your Assets module folder. And let's go ahead and open up the second step, which is called Unmanaged File Validation. Go ahead and copy the entire code and paste it over the code that's currently in your assets.module file and save it. The only thing that we've added to this file is a validation function for our form. So if you scroll down to the bottom, you will see a assets unmanaged file form validate function, and we're just following the convention of the form API where we can add the validate suffix to the name of the original form function, which is up here. And this first line is probably one of the most interesting ones. We're running a function called file save upload, and we're passing it the name of the input that was our file input. What file save upload will do is create a copy of the original file that was uploaded to the temp directory, and it will give it the name of the original file. And what we can also do, and we'll show this as we go through, is pass additional parameters to it to tell it where to store it and what validation to perform on this file before we save it. But what we're going to do is just first check to make sure that the file was uploaded, and something will be returned from file save upload if it was. If so, what we want to do is save the return value from file save upload, which is a file object. So a file object will contain information like the size of the file, who created the file, and so on. It's typically information that you would see in a managed file that has data stored in the database. But what file save upload will do is create a file object based off of this new upload so that we can work with it very similarly to the way we can work with a managed upload. Another thing to consider here is that file save upload will create an entry in the file database. However, this entry will get removed every 6 hours on cron runs as long as the file maintains a temporary status. We'll show how to make a file permanent when we get to the managed file section, but by default the unmanaged files will be temporary, so they'll get cleared out periodically. Now let's go back here to this line. What we're doing is saving this file in the form state values unmanaged file. So typically in a text input or a checkbox input, this would be the value that would be passed in through that input. But because there's no information that's actually saved in this value item in a file input, we can safely replace it with an alternate value. And in this case, it's going to be the file object. If this wasn't successful, we want to go ahead and throw an error. So we're going to use the form set error function and pass it the description of the file could not be uploaded. Okay, let's go ahead and jump to the browser and take a look at what happens to the file once we upload it now. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and refresh the page. And I'm going to browse for a file. I'm going to go ahead and submit it. Now we didn't set any messages to show if things were successful, so we have to assume that things went through okay. One way that we can verify that our upload went through properly is by going to a database manager and taking a look at the file managed table. So I'm going to jump to my database manager, which is MySQL Pro. Over here on the left we have a list of our tables, and on the right we have the content of the table. And I'm going to go ahead and refresh the view of this table. Now we have one entry in here, and you see that it has a temporary URI, which means that this file is located in the temporary directory, and we have some other information about it. And the status is 0, which means that this is a temporary file that will get removed every 6 hours by cron runs unless the status changes. So because this is an unmanaged file, we don't ultimately want an entry in the files table, so this will just go ahead and get removed as cron runs.